Everybody grab a blanket, put on your slippers, put on your lip balm, get cozy because it's story time. Today is all about how I started surfing, why I started surfing, and hopefully can inspire any of you out there who want to start surfing to find your way on that journey. I was raised as a kid going to the beach. It was something really important to my mom growing up. She lived in Hawaii and Southern California throughout her childhood, and it's kind of like ingrained in her DNA. I could spend every single day of my life at the ocean, in the water, and I would be the happiest person in the world. And that truly is one of the most fulfilling things to me in my life is the ocean. Ever since I was little, I always wanted to surf. I always had this fascination with it. I always would watch surfers, but it always was like, those people are a different kind of breed, and I'm just not one of those people. And I never really got exposed to it much. I just grew up kind of playing on the sand and some kind of swimming or body surfing, sometimes boogie boarding, but I never really had exposure to surfing. Then I moved to LA as an adult after I graduated college, and I moved here right before the pandemic started. So it was a very, very bizarre time to be coming to this massive city because if any of you guys know, like, COVID was crazy everywhere, but COVID was really, really crazy in LA. It was a very stressful and scary time. I was going through a lot during that time, as everybody was. I had just gotten diagnosed with my autoimmune disease and a few other health complications. Literally weeks before the pandemic started, I have the date that I got diagnosed tattooed, and this is 2020, and it was before the pandemic started, so now 2020 will be a reminder on my body forever. It was a really kind of dark time. I was living in LA alone. I didn't get to have my family there a lot. They came as much as they could, but it was just a hard time for everybody. And so it was kind of facing all of that alone, facing new health problems alone, and just being so scared about like the state of the world. My one haven during that time was the beach. I would go to Malibu, to a remote area where no one was, and I would just sit there on the sand. I would pray, I would think, I would just kind of recollect on like what I was doing and how I was going to get myself through that time. And the ocean was like the only thing that really kept me sane and at peace during that time. And so during that time period from like 2020 to 2021 to 22, I just would go to that same spot constantly and I would just sit there. Again, like just sitting there and watching the waves and listening. And then I started to do my workouts on the beach and I started to take walks and I would listen to music. And it just became my place where I'm like, okay, my anxiety is bad. I'm stressed about the treatments I'm doing. I'm stressed out about the world. And it was just a heavy, heavy time. But through those years, it was just my safety zone. So through that, once the world opened up again and my mom was visiting, I remember we were kind of celebrating like the world being open that summer. I think it was the summer of 22 where we finally had like more of a taste of normalcy in life. And my mom and I were on the Malibu Pier and we were having a treat ourselves day where we were getting breakfast, and she had just overcome breast cancer and there was all these things going on, and we were just sitting in our favorite place at the ocean and watching the surfers. And for the first time I was like, why am I not doing this? Like, it literally calls to me. It's like a weird voice in the back of my head that's saying like, you're supposed to be doing this but you're not because you're afraid. And so from that day, it took me forever, years and years and years of experiencing that. But for some reason, it like clicked. I was like, I'm going to get a surf lesson. Like, I don't care anymore. I don't care about the fear anymore. I cannot ignore this voice in my head a single moment longer. So I'm going to get a surf lesson. I don't even know how to go about that, but I'm going to do it. From there, I fortunately have a connection through my church of a guy who is a professional surfer. And so through knowing him, I was like, he's a very kind person and very, very like generous with his knowledge of surfing. And so I was like, I'm just going to take a step of faith here and I'm going to just ask him and say, hey, this is random, but I really, really want to start surfing. Can you please give me a pointer as to how I can start doing that? And for me, I just knew I want to ask somebody who has the knowledge and has the experience, and I'm just going to follow the process and the journey from there. And so I think that's my number one tip from people is don't just like start on your own without talking to people who know. You can go to YouTube. There's so many resources to get knowledge first before you go out there, because it definitely is dangerous, and it definitely is something that like you really want to have a firm understanding of what you're getting into before you go and do it. So that's my number one piece of advice for anybody wanting to start surfing. It's amazing. It's the best thing I feel like you could ever try. And I was an athlete my whole life growing up, and this is by far my favorite thing I've ever done, ever. But I asked somebody who had the knowledge, who could pass it on to me, to make sure that I had putting my best foot forward and being able to like have a pleasant experience starting surfing. Because surfing can be two different experiences for you. It's difficult no matter what, but it could be fun and difficult, or it could just be miserable and difficult. The better prepared you are, the better experience and long-term experience you will have with surfing. After I asked this guy, he pointed me in the right direction. He said, go to Camp Surf in Manhattan Beach. They're great. They'll be able to get you going. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So I went on a journey of trying to find my first surfboard, which of course was like, I was like, I'm going to learn on a shortboard and I don't care about the challenge. That's like every kook's first move when they start. A kook is like a very inexperienced person in surfing. And that's like the biggest kook move you can do, is be like, I'm going to go learn how to surf with no experience on a shortboard. You do you, whatever you want to do. But if you want to learn how to surf and develop good form and good habits from the beginning, you're better off learning on a longer soft top board, so that when you're learning, you're focusing on the fundamentals and not just like trying to survive, basically. I went and found myself a 7-foot soft top foam board on Facebook Marketplace. It was $200. I used it a little bit, but it ended up like not really working for me. And so my cousin at the same time was learning how to surf as well, and she came with me to a lesson, and we decided to switch boards. She had a different shaped, I'm looking at it right now, she had like a different shaped, it was a bit wider and it was like a bit heavier. And so for me, that 7-foot foamy worked better for me, and my 7-foot foamy worked better for her. So we just traded boards, and that's how we learned. From there, we continued to grow and develop in what felt comfortable. So with my first lesson, I started on that board, realized it wasn't working for me, and when I switched boards, that 7-foot board helped me see so much more progress. I was popping up consistently, I was able to paddle out better, my paddle was doing better, everything worked better when I found the equipment that worked for me. My first lesson was fun but scary, because when you're a beach goer and you're hanging out on the beach and you kind of dip in the water, it's a very different experience. But when you're on a board and you paddle out past the break, you paddle out to the outside, it's such a different experience of feeling kind of exposed, and you're out there officially. You're not in like a little safety zone. You're out there, and now you're having to trust yourself to keep yourself safe. You have this piece of equipment out there, and it's just you and that board. And it was such a trippy experience. But fortunately, I had a great teacher for the first lesson, and really helped instill some of that confidence and excitement. I was hoping to have that same teacher, but life had other plans, because that teacher that was doing my first initial lessons had to move unexpectedly. So then this other guy named Tyus comes in, and he substitutes our lesson. That's where everything changed, because now here we are, fast forward a year and a half later, and he is my boyfriend. So, you just never know what will happen when you take a leap of faith, take a risk, try something, and put yourself in an uncomfortable situation. You just never know. I got kind of fortunate because, yes, my surf coach ended up becoming my boyfriend, and we ended up surfing all the time together, and I pretty much got lessons all the time just through this person. But I do, attribute all of that to the fact that I was willing to ask the questions in the first place, put myself in that position to begin with. And so any of you are fully capable of doing that and fully capable of getting that experience and getting a great teacher. It's all about just putting yourself out there to begin with, and finding a community of people who surf. So I started out surfing, right, with my friends. None of us knew how to surf, but meeting Tyson and now having him and him introducing me to his friends that surf, that's the biggest way I've gotten better at surfing, is because I'm going out and I'm surfing with a group of people. I'm getting to learn from people with experience, and it really helps just watching and repetition and soaking in all of those hours in the ocean is a game changer. It was so cool too. When I first met Tyus at our first lesson, I was super wanting to be single, and I was, now on this independent journey of learning how to surf. And I didn't realize just how communal surfing is, even though it's also very independent. And it was kind of the perfect thing for me, who wanted to be independent but didn't realize how much I was needing to be communal. And getting to know Tyus through that time period of him teaching me how to surf really helped me have like that beautiful combination of like solo independent time out in the water, but also getting to be introduced to his whole community of people who are some of the most epic, iconic, brilliant people. Surfing breeds a different kind of person. When you put in time to be uncomfortable, like, you're just automatically a different kind of person. Those are the kinds of people I want to be surrounded by. People who are willing to work hard, but really want to have a good time and are okay being uncomfortable for a bigger goal. That's really what you get in surfing. Like, if you want to feel like you're elevating yourself, but you're also having a hell of a good time doing it, like, surfing is for you. And so it was such a whirlwind these last like year and a half of surfing. I've surfed so much in the last year and a half just by putting myself out there. I've been scared. I've had a lot of hard times out in the water. When I first started really going out with Tyus a lot, because I would just follow him. He would take me places and I would follow. And a lot of that was great because it was pushing me to grow faster. And I feel like I got better at surfing faster because I was with somebody who was that experienced, and I was just willing to um, take that risk. And even though it was scary, it was really good for me. I didn't used to think about the size of waves when I first started surfing with him, and then I had a reality check a few times, a few really heavy wipeouts, everyone has near drowning incidents. It's just a part of surfing. It's what you do with those experiences that matters, not like, oh my goodness, I almost drowned, that was so traumatizing, I'm never surfing again. It's like, unfortunately, like, that's just the name of the game. And if you, like, my incident helped me learn so much about rip currents. I'm big on never surfing alone. I'm big on like always making sure that you have someone out there who knows that you're there to kind of keep track of you. Um, and I was surfing one day with Tyus and got in a bad situation, unfortunately, because he was with me. He was able to get me out of that situation. I just took that, and I took some time off to recover, but I was like, okay, now I need to know why that happened and how I can be better in the water. And knowing that now I can keep myself safe in that scenario, it translates so much to life, and I have so much more confidence in myself in life and like what I'm capable of. And it's a really good feeling. It's a really, really cool feeling knowing you can be out in the ocean, and as long as you remain humble and you are open to learning, and you never think that you like have the ocean figured out, you're just really flexible and fluid with it, you're gonna have a great time and you're gonna become even better of a person. So here we are. I started surfing in September of 2022. It is now 2024, which is so cool. I have surfed all over Southern California, all the way from, all the way down south to the border, all the way up to Oregon, all the way up to Oregon in different spots. And it's just because I've met a lot of amazing people, and I've opened myself up to this community of surfers that have fully changed my life, have invited me along for a lot of amazing journeys of getting to travel and getting to surf. And again, like, I've paddled out in areas where like I probably had no business, but I don't like to say that because it's like, one, that's not a good energy to carry for yourself, but two, it's like putting myself in those challenging situations and paddling out with people better than me, it's only made me better as a surfer. And I've gained so much experience where now like I have a lot of water experience, and I know that the only way I'm going to keep getting better at surfing, the only way I'm going to keep gaining that knowledge is just putting the time in and putting the hours in. It's a super humbling thing. I think surfing keeps you humble, it keeps you smart, keeps you very agile and versatile. I have the hiccup, sorry. All because one day I finally was acknowledging that voice in my head. I dared to ask someone, how do I start this? I am a complete noob. I have no experience. I don't know. I just know I love the ocean. What do I do? It led me here. And now I have a house full of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 surfboards, 11, 12. And it's, again, I've been given like all my boards pretty much for the most part. I bought one used one for myself. That's like my longboard that I love to surf most of the time. But that was used. And, people are super generous, giving, and kind in the surf community. It's super special. So if you're somebody who feels like, man, I'm lacking human connection, I'm lacking feeling connected in my community, if you can, try surfing. If you're somewhere, there's a lot of coastline in the world. I know there's a lot of landlocked states, but there's a lot of coastline in the world. There's ways to get creative. We don't have a lot of money. Me and my boyfriend don't have a lot of money. We are always scraping by. A lot of my life is like thrifted or given to me because I meet people and I'm kind. You just have to get creative and you just have to be kind, and doors will inevitably open up for you. I do believe that. And so you don't have to be rich to start surfing. I did have to save up for my wetsuits. That was like the biggest expense, was like saving up for my wetsuits or splitting it with like my family, saying like, hey, this is something that means a lot to me. Can you help me do this? But you don't have to have a lot of money to start surfing or to start traveling and start surfing. Everyone makes it work for them. Everyone finds ways to get crafty. Do it in groups. Get a group together and just figure it out. We all have to do it. We all have to find a way. And it's well worth the hard work, and it's well worth being creative and figuring out the way for you. But I can't recommend surfing enough. Get a wetsuit if you need one. If you don't, you're lucky if you have warm water. Get a soft top foam board, 7 to 9 feet long. Get a leash. Get somebody to teach you, show you the ropes, show you the primary things that you really need to know to keep yourself safe in the ocean. And that's all you need. And you're good to go. Get a used wetsuit if you have to. Like, there's so many things that you can get crafty with to make it work, to get in this world. And don't mind these boards, yes, look janky. They were given to us and we're gonna repair them. So if anybody's looking at these and they're like, her boards look terrible, listen. This right here is our stack of boards we're repairing and fixing, because we just got from kind of like a garage sale, basically, from someone that we know in the area who's moving. That board in the back corner is more of like a wall piece that my really good friend gave me before he moved away. And so I think I'm keeping it just for sentimental value. But I will be sharing soon how we're choosing to fix these boards and replacing a lot of stuff. We just got our repair kit. So surfing's amazing. I can't recommend it enough. I hope this inspires somebody today to do at least something that they're afraid of, but they know that they really want to do and that they know will make them really happy. I hope this inspires you, and I hope you can go into today feeling a little bit more excited about life. Love you guys. Thank you.